Welcome back. We want to take you live back to Beijing, where the president's team is leaving the state dinner. We already saw Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller leaving the dinner, and we are waiting for President Trump to depart Beijing's Great Hall of People, where the team joined the Chinese delegation in Beijing for dinner tonight and celebrated each other. But underlying this celebration and this warm relation was a warning from Xi Jinping. And Xi Jinping warned that Taiwan could be a, quote, very dangerous situation if mishandled. A veiled threat from Xi Jinping to President Trump and the Trump administration as the two countries try to open up opportunities for each other. Already we know that the U.S. has cleared H200 chip sales to 10 Chinese companies. NVIDIA CEO is looking for breakthroughs, of course. Jensen Huang, one of the CEOs with President Trump on the trip. Xi expressed interest in buying more oil from the United States. Both countries did agree that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. But Xi said that Taiwan's independence could lead to further conflict with the United States if this situation is not handled properly. And as we await President Trump to depart Beijing's Great Hall of People, we are watching markets on the U.S. side rally. In fact, markets higher right now at the highest levels of the morning, with the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 further into record territory, as markets and investors look to President Trump's leadership and have confidence in what he has been doing. Xi Jinping is expected to buy more agriculture from the United States after this trip. We are expecting the Chinese to live up to their commitment of buying soybeans from the United States. And again, we will watch for President Trump to come out of those steps as he looks to depart the Great Hall of People after a dinner where both President Trump toasted Xi Jinping and the Chinese, and Xi Jinping toasted President Trump and the Trump delegation with champagne and lots of warm niceties. But the tension was clear in terms of Xi Jinping's warning that the wrong or mishandled issue could lead to possible clashes if the Taiwan issue is mishandled. So we've got good news and also some questions. Let's bring in EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin and get your reaction, Lee. Good to see you this morning. The president leading in Beijing, your reaction to what you're seeing.
For these kinds of engagements. I mean, we've had situations in this country where you might have a new president, new team. They're still trying to figure things out. They might end up trying to engage with China, and either they don't know what they want yet, they have, maybe even worse, the wrong ideology and approach. They might even be compromised. President Trump, over the course of decades, has built up the experience, the business experience, the life experience for exactly this moment. So I have a lot of faith in him and his team to be able to make these engagements as productive as possible for this country.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, and I think markets and investors agree with you as well, Lee, and that's why we're seeing this record performance for the stock market. But look, Lee, we are watching President Trump now depart. He is leaving the Great Hall of People. And as you can see, he is being escorted out with friends from China, and he is being followed by all of the CEOs that he went with. Tim Cook is behind him, of course. We saw earlier Elon Musk, the president now completing that state dinner and departing the Great Hall of People after what seems to have been a successful first day where they have made some agreements in terms of trade and also obviously got into the Taiwan issue. Lee, you are at the center of one of the Trump administration's biggest opportunities, and that, of course, is tapping into the energy capacity of this country. You're also at the center of this deregulation fight, cutting EPA spending and rolling back lots of the Biden-era climate and chemical rules. Tell us where you are in that.
Well, we just continue to make more progress in right-sizing this agency and fixing what was a big regulatory mess that we inherited. We specifically have launched what amounts to the largest act of deregulation in the history of this country. The recent announcement to repeal the endangerment finding was specific to autos, but that's a $1.3 trillion deregulation that President Trump and I announced at the White House recently. Now, specifically, most recently, we've, when you dig into New Source Review, building data centers, the artificial intelligence push, we're making it easier to be able to build. New proposal on what's called begin actual construction, the definition of it. We want projects to be able to start without having to hold up an entire project waiting for an air permit. When you look at something called the reactivation policy, where a site might sit idle for 2 years or more, the Biden administration, when you want to restart it, would treat it like it's a new build. We stopped that reactivation policy. We are now looking at, we're not going to second guess the projected emissions post-construction unless there's a clear error. So no more second guessing. That's also a big change from the Biden administration, because you have pre-project actual emissions, post-project projected emissions. And when you add up all of these individual changes, I mean, I spoke about a big thing, the repeal of the 2009 endangerment finding, $1.3 trillion. When you add up all of the other smaller things collectively, what this really amounts to is more deregulation in 1 year at one agency than anyone in this country has ever experienced across entire presidencies, across all agencies combined. And we're going to keep up this momentum, and we're doing it as fast as we can. Trump speed means you don't have 4 years to get it done. Trump speed means you have to get everything done today.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about this idea that President Trump could actually come home from this trip with a new order to buy oil and gas from America, Lee? I mean, you know, when you look at the opportunity that the U.S. has in that regard, now that the U.S. is producing more oil and gas than the Saudis and Russians combined.
Yeah, Maria, this is such an important point, and I raised this yesterday when I was testifying in front of the Senate Appropriations Committee hearing. When I was with the White House National Energy Dominance Council in Tokyo recently, and there were 17 Indo-Pacific countries that were there. They see what's going on in the Middle East, and they want to diversify their supply chain. They are looking to United States supplies. They're able to get the supplies faster in the Middle East, and they're able to get it with total freedom of navigation. Yes, unleashing energy dominance is not just good for us domestically, but we also have the capacity to be able to export, and that's great for our economy and national security.
Absolutely, Lee. So let me go back to that when you testified in front of the Senate Appropriations Committee yesterday, because you talked about the EPA's fiscal year 2027 budget, supporting the president's plan to cut the agency's budget to $4.2 billion. You faced some serious pushback, including from Washington Senator Patty Murray, who questioned you about this. She called it an odd report. Watch this.
Are you actually spending taxpayer dollars looking into medication abortion being in the water?
Unless they're one of the many hundreds of pharmaceuticals on the list of the contaminant candidate list, I'm not aware of the agency doing anything with that.
Do you seriously believe there's abortion in the water like some of the far-right activists are suggesting?
I have not. You just said abortion in the water?
That's what some far-right activists are saying, that they have an audience in the EPA on that absurd issue.
Yeah, I have not had a conversation with anyone at the agency as far as abortions in water.
And you're not actively pursuing it, or don't have groups of...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Lee, this is the first I've ever heard of anything like this. What was she? Did you ever find out what she was talking about?
You know, it's impossible to try to make sense and translate the logic that some of these members of Congress have when they're approaching this stuff. Yeah, as I pointed out, if she's referring to a pharmaceutical, that could be part of the hundreds of pharmaceuticals that were added to the contaminant candidate list with a recent announcement with Secretary Kennedy, where we added microplastics and pharmaceuticals and more PFAS and 75 chemicals. But she starts going down this line of asking me about abortions and water. I have no idea what she's talking about. I've never heard that term until she raised it. And this is what you get when you go testify before Congress. You can expect there to be good, productive, substantive exchange with some prepared members of Congress. But unfortunately, they are going to allow some others to turn their microphone on as well. And they're just reading the notes that are in front of them that maybe some intern or some staffer wrote. They don't even know what they're reading. They don't listen to the answer. They're just trying to get to their next question. And it's illogical. This was one of those moments.
But Lee, did you feel that even Republicans were uncomfortable about the cuts to the EPA budget? Like Lisa Murkowski seemed to show some discomfort in terms of the 50% EPA budget cut. What did you feel? I mean, was it all political, or did you feel any semblance between the two sides when you were sitting there?
Well, yeah, and this is the second year in a row where we've come to Congress with the president's budget proposal that has a very significant reduction in funds for EPA. There are members of both sides of the aisle who have individual items that they want to see higher amounts. It's all part of a process. But we need to be exceptional stewards of tax dollars, and we have to make sure we're operating efficiently. And we're going to just continue to do that to the maximum extent possible. That's maybe responsibility number one or close to it.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great point, because each one of them have their own, pet peeves in terms of Alaska or what is important to them. Lee, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks so much. We will be watching your work, as always. Lee Zeldin. Stay with us. We'll be right back.